how many people are there that are living their lives still thinking about that one person, and that one person is still thinking about them?
She was my first love, but I can replace her. For those who wanted us to fail, we wanted to prove them wrong. Thought about or even wanted to cheat.
And
There was a little bit of sadness.
I was sad. Hello and welcome to Unfiltered Heart Talks.
Welcome, guys. We are happy to have you here. We are delighted to share with you in another episode on Unfiltered Heart Talks.
Today, we will be sharing my favorite story, and I believe it's your favorite story as well.
Yes.
What's that story, love?
Our love story.
Our love story. We're going to get into all the details from how we met, who we were even before we met, and what happened during, after, and where we are right now. So we're going to start off. Who were you before we got together? It doesn't have to be years before, but like while you were in your single era before we got into a relationship, who were you as an individual?
Okay, who was I? I was, well, before we met, I had gotten baptized in 2009, and I believe that was an amazing period in my life. A period where I was into that spiritual phase where I was trying to find someone that I could potentially see as my wife, as a life partner.
Yes.
And of course, I was dating within the context as the church has it. Dating is just getting to know people. And that's exactly what I was doing. But it came a point where I practically wasn't dating anyone. And I was just being this nice young Christian guy who goes to church. I was very, very active. I was doing all that stuff until I got to Victor Dixon High School. And yeah.
Yeah. Me, grew up in the church, as we all say. Grew up in the church, went to private schools most of my life, and I was just, the average schoolgirl, participating in school activities, very reserved, very structured life, So that was practically who I was during that time. And then we met. You enrolled at the school that I was attending.
Yeah.
And you were the new guy.
Yeah.
In the upper form. How was that for you?
Well, that was my second high school.
Okay.
Because I was such a bad child. I was just involved in so many wrong things before I became a Christian.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that near-death experience brought me to Christ. And from that, I was introduced to Victor Dixon High School. And I heard it was a very, very good spiritual private school. So I said, wow, that's a nice thing. So when I came to Victor Dixon, I remember I had my first interview, man, with Mr. McLean. Shout out to Mr. McLean, wherever you are. And I learned so much from Mr. McLean.
Yes.
Mr. McLean was just this gentleman. He walks around, hands behind his back, standing tall, looking up. And one of the things that I admire the most about Mr. McLean, that he was very, very respectful even to us as students.
Yes.
And when he spoke to us, it was Mr. and Mrs.,
Ooh.
And I really, really admired that. And I was there. The experience was wonderful. I was happy to be back in school because when I had gotten out of school, when I had graduated from my first high school, I could not find a public school that would have taken me back. And so Victor Dixon High School was like a safe haven. But I think that, God just worked it out in such an amazing way to the point where I ended up at Victor Dixon High School. Because at Victor Dixon High School, so many things happened that practically gave my life new meaning and put me on a new path and placed my life on a trajectory that made me who I am today.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. I could just listen to you. I'm so enamored by you. So I'm just backtracking in my mind and
How
thinking
was
about
it for
everything.
you?
For me, while at
And you
Victor
got there in
Dixon,
grade 7, right?
yes. I got there in the 7th grade, first form. It was a beautiful place for me. I felt safe there. It was good to know that the teachers that were there really truly cared about the students that they interacted with daily.
Right.
Because I had been coming from a public high school before. I spent one semester at a public high school and I loathed it. I just really loathed it. So when I got to that school, I felt community. I felt as though I was in a place where growth could be fostered.
Right. Right.
It fostered my growth and development, not just physically and academically, but spiritually.
Right. And that's one of the things that I liked about Victor Dixon High School. The spiritual growth that it fostered was really, really amazing and something that you would not necessarily find at a public high school.
That's right.
And the fact that it was a small private high school, not a lot of students, and it was so educationally driven. It was so focused on the students' educational journey to the point where it was not necessarily like you were nurtured, but you were nurtured in such a way where you were pushed and you were pushed hard. You were challenged to become a better person, to be more educated. And if you weren't, then there would have been not necessarily consequences, but you had what they call merit reading, you know. And when that was being done, no one wanted to be in a position where your merits would have been read out in the entire devotion and you would get like 1 or 2 merits. So for me, being there, I wanted to ensure that my merits were within the 16 range, 14, 15, 16 range. And that way it shows that I was doing exceptionally well in all my courses, you know. But apart from the educational aspect and the time that we spent in high school, what else at Victor Dixon High School was very intriguing for you and excited you?
I would say significance. The significance of at least my 3rd year there was the fact that I met you. We met each other.
Okay. Okay.
I was in my 3rd year. You're in your 4th year. You were a year ahead of me, or a grade ahead of me.
Right.
And I knew that there was this new guy at school, along with other students that came that semester. And I remember I didn't know much about you, but I knew that a friend of mine was so into you, would miss so much of everything just to, stop by and peek at you or just talk about you and everything. And that was one thing. But I didn't know you. I didn't know you. So what do you remember?
Well, I think the best part of my high school, Victor Dixon High School, was the relationship that we shared.
Oh.
Having met you and everything that happened afterwards. And I remember getting there, neat, nice, clean, fresh. I used to work out and stuff, so I felt pretty good. And not only that, I was very, very spiritual. I was a spiritual young man, and like God was everything to me. So being there, I wasn't really searching for a girlfriend. I wasn't in any relationship for a whole year, and so when I saw you, you were so beautiful. When I saw you for the first time, and I was like, wow, she's really, really beautiful. And I wanted to get to know you so much. I wanted that opportunity to just find a moment to have a conversation with you But as you mentioned, that your friend liked me, and I didn't know how to, because you guys were close, and I didn't know how to navigate my way through letting her know that I'm actually not interested in you. I'm interested in your friend, which was you.
Yeah.
And so that was a challenge.
And there was never any relationship, right?
Right. There was no relationship. There was nothing happening. I just knew that she liked me. So then I don't remember what we used to be a part of. We used to be a part of a group.
Was it choir?
I don't know if we were in choir together.
There was the Bible quiz
There was the Bible
competition.
quiz competition, and I was a part of that. But we were involved in some group that
Trying to remember.
I think it was maybe it was the Bible quiz.
It could
But
be.
that whatever we were involved in, it brought us closer together, and ever so often we would meet in the pastor's office for that group meeting. And I remember one evening being inside that room with you, and I wanted to talk to you so badly, but I just didn't know how to go about it. So I went home and I prayed, and I said, God, I need to talk to her. I want to get to know her. She's very beautiful. And I prayed, and I just devised a plan as to how I'm going to just go and talk to you the next day.
So you wanted to find a way.
I needed to find a way
Okay.
to be able to tell you how I really felt. And so I devised a plan and went back to school the next day. The evening came, we were back in Bible class. I said, boom, this is my moment. So I saw you. The pastor had stepped out. I said, this is a perfect time. And I came up to you. I said, can I have a conversation with you outside? And he said, sure. I said,
I was upstairs.
That was upstairs. Because I didn't know if you liked me. And the truth is, I don't think at that time there was ever a moment in my life when I was ever rejected by a female. So I didn't even know how to handle rejection. But being baptized, being a Christian young man during that period, it was completely new for me. It was like relearning what dating was and what it is and what it should be like. So everything was new, and I said, okay, I'm gonna talk to her, shoot my shot. If it drops in the hoop, then so be it.
Yeah.
So we were outside, and I introduced myself to you. I remember this story like it was yesterday. So I introduced myself to you, and I told you that I liked you. And your response was what? You felt
The same.
the same
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
That for me was amazing to hear. I was like, wow, she actually likes me, because you were so beautiful in high school. And I'm saying, well, there's no way this girl. But I never necessarily doubted myself, because I know I'm an handsome guy too,
Yeah.
But of course, you were very, very beautiful, very attractive. And when you said that, it was really heartwarming. How did you feel about when I told you
Ooh.
that I liked you?
Well, for me, I just let me even create the setting, because I have to create the setting. It was dark upstairs because light went out,
Wow.
and we we journeyed from the pastor's office, and he had the conversation with me right there in the passageway. I think people were still around. It was still school hours, and we had that discussion, and I told you that my sentiments are the same. I shared those sentiments. And I remember feeling good. That's nice. My first boyfriend. You know, not only that, but then I also felt a tinge of weirdness, because I'm like, oh God,
Oh, yeah.
how are we
Yeah,
gonna break
yeah,
the news?
yeah.
Or like, what's gonna happen? I'm not losing my best friend, because and the good thing is, the beautiful thing about this is, even though I felt happy and I shared those sentiments, there's this heaviness, because I did not know what to expect should we come out with this news that you like me and I like you and you didn't like her? But that was something that we were already discussing, like, head on. I'm like, well, my friend likes you. So what's gonna happen there? So
Right.
how did we handle that? Did you eventually said something?
I think I told you, I said to you, so it was a discussion. So how am I gonna, so since you like me and I like you, how are we gonna go about telling your friend that I'm not into her? And I don't remember. I think that we both had the time to talk to her.
Yeah.
And I told her
Whether it was
that,
individually or
yeah, I don't, I
together.
think, I don't remember exactly how that story ended, but I remember that, she got the news and she understood. She actually took it very well, and she was very, very supportive of
Yeah.
our relationship.
Yeah. She was sad for a while though.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
But
It wasn't like there was
a
a
relationship between you
relationship.
two.
It was
Yeah.
never. We never had that a conversation about she liking me, I liking her. So it was like, okay, it's your friend, but I like you. So it is what it is.
So here we are. We've established that we both like each other,
Hmm.
and we're doing very well academically.
We were doing very well
Yes,
academically.
and now we decide, okay, I like you, you like me. Let's be
Boyfriend
and
and girlfriend.
girlfriend, right? And what was it like? What feedback did we receive? What happened from that first conversation to the establishment in everybody's minds that yes, these two are together? That you can remember, and I'll share my thoughts as well.
So our relationship was, well, we were both two mature individuals. And of course, maturity comes in stages, because sometimes people think that, oh, he's mature, she's mature. It doesn't mean that you're mature to handle everything. But within high school, at that moment of our life, we were two mature young people. And of course, our relationship portrayed that level of maturity. On campus, we were always very, very appropriate in what we do, how we acted. And our relationship was respected by peers and teachers alike. Everybody respected what we share and how we conducted ourselves as a young couple. So, yeah.
I just remember during our relationship, like I'm thinking about the sentiments and the feelings that I had during our relationship. And for one, I felt very safe. I felt like I could be myself. I didn't feel like our relationship affected my academics in any way, which is what anybody would be concerned about. Is this relationship going to help or hinder me? So it was all green lights there. Everyone knew that we were together, and respected that. They understood it. And as you said, quite well, we commanded respect because we weren't gallivanting like the typical. And also, I remember when we were just being friends, talking, I like you, you like me, let's be friends. And then after a while, we decided, okay, this is going to be a relationship. And I introduced you to my mom and my dad.
I remember the very first place I was introduced to my now mother, and rightfully so. you know, was at NCU. I remember the exact place where I met her, and it's such an amazing thing. Like, mommy took me as her very own son, and the relationship that we share up to this point is one that is separate outside of what we have.
Yes.
She takes me as her son. I call her mommy, and I've been calling her mommy from ever since. And, even amidst our separation, which we will get to eventually,
Yeah.
that relationship between us, mother and son, still continued right throughout. Of course, she gave us the very best advice that any human being could give to two young people. And she has always had our best interests at heart.
That's true.
You know,
And you know what I love? The fact that it's amazing when you have somebody completely invested in you as an individual. So I believe that she was just as invested in you as she was in me. She was never biased about anything, and she loves and cares for you as she would her own son. You know, so that was a beautiful thing, and she always gave good advice, as you said.
Yes.
And I'm so happy that I introduced you to her because she has really been a tower in a relationship.
Yes,
she has been a voice of wisdom to us, and I'm grateful for her. And eventually I met your family. You met mine. Everybody loved you.
Yes.
Your side of the family, you know, loved me. And
It was like we were all one big happy family.
Exactly. You know, even sometimes when I share some of the stuff that Chev and I have gone through or done or places we've been, you're like, our family was that close.
Like, I'm saying, what? Our family did that?
Yeah, our family was that close. I
Our
didn't
family
know.
was really close.
Yeah.
Way closer than I think.
Yes.
Or than I thought.
Yeah. So and that level of community that we had around us, I believe, was one of the reasons that our relationship could so thrive. You know, not only the mental space that we were in as Christians, young Christians, but also the support of our community, our parents, or extended family. Because my aunts loved you, they still love you. It's almost surreal because you don't find that often. A lot of people complain about in-laws and not liking this and not liking that, and people not getting along. Maybe that's one of the reasons a lot of marriages aren't working, because if you have everybody in harmony, then that relationship will be in a good place to actually thrive. But that's just how I feel about that.
But there's 2 points that I want to make reference to. One, the community that we had in the form of our family that supported what we have. And as a result, we lived our life in such a way where our Christian character would always be portrayed first. And of course, for those who wanted us to fail, we wanted to prove them wrong. And for those who wanted the best for us, we wanted to ensure that we did not disappoint them.
If you like our content, we are also available on Instagram, TikTok, and on Facebook. Show us some love over there. Unfiltered Heart Talks.